Welcome back to the channel. Yes, it's my spooky Halloween edition. Now, you're looking at me and marveling at the skill of the makeup that I have applied, and I have no idea that I'm actually the same person that presents this normally. But I am. This week, we're talking about the interaction of the supernatural and machines. I can't keep this up.
Max, I'm so glad you came to me. I've been through it all myself, you see. Your reality is already half video hallucination. If you're not careful, it will become total hallucination. You'll have to learn to live in a very strange new world.
Who's behind it? What do they want?
I want you, Max. You. Come to me. Come to Nikki. Come on. Don't make me wait. Please. Come on. Come to me now. Come to Nikki. Don't keep me waiting. Please. Please.
So James Woods and Debbie Harry in James Cronenberg's Videodrome, one of the first movies to deal with a potential interaction between modern technology and the supernatural, or the super something. In that case, who knows what was going on. But when Debbie Harry entices you to come to her through your TV screen, who can blame James Woods for moving a little bit closer? Now, the funny thing about that film is that it also came out about the same time as Steven Spielberg's Poltergeist movie, which, as you remember, also dealt with spirits or other beings communicating through the television. Now, the interesting thing there is, in the 80s, people worried about the impact of television, particularly on the young generation, as they were called, younger people. And television was at its peak. There was no competition for television in those days, and we were seeing the arrival of multiple channels, cable TV in America, satellite TV in the UK, etc., when suddenly television exploded. And some people thought this wasn't a good idea, and people were genuinely afraid of the power of television. Well, if we fast forward 40 years to today, and what do we see? The same moral panic, not about television. Television now seems rather benign, but we're much more worried about the internet. We're much more worried about AI, as I've been banging on about. We're much more worried about the effect of social media. We're much more worried about where the hell this is all going. And if we delve a little bit into the vaults, as I have, or in other words, I've asked ChatGPT to come up with some ideas, and we can see that the theme of technology going wrong, technology taking over, technology possessing humans or turning them into slaves has been around for some time. I mean, the Frankenstein story, even Dracula itself is a kind of mix-up of technology, modern and ancient times. And Hollywood and literature and television has explored these themes in various ways. And I think it really, whether you believe in ghosts, whether you believe in some kind of spirits or not, there is definitely something fascinating about the idea of energy, let's say, living on. In 2001 Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick experimented with the whole idea of super intelligent life forces that don't exist in physical form, but can in fact manifest themselves, and they do stuff. And of course, in 2001, we all know what happened when the computer was taken over. It seems by these forces, or was it itself became sentient and refused to do the things it was asked to do. And that's a big fear right now with AI, because people think that if we don't stop it even, or if we don't check its development, then it will one day destroy us. So I don't believe all that right now. Certainly, I don't think it's likely to happen in the next five minutes. Let's say 5 minutes. I can guarantee you, next 5 minutes it won't happen. But I don't think it's going to happen anyway. But anyway, let's have a delve into what my friend ChatGPT has come up with to sort of whet your appetite and make. Let's take a deep dive into the eerie world where technology and the supernatural collide. So, as I said, this theme has been going on for many years, and even way back, Thomas Edison, right, a man of science. He was also a friend of Henry Ford, who I mentioned in the last episode. But he actually believed that his inventions could help him capture the voices of the departed, as he said, or as he put it, rather. So he didn't, I don't think, succeed in doing that. But the very fact that a supposed man of the 20th century and a man of technology and science believed that he could suggests that it's a very tempting idea. We often hear many ghost stories they tend to be overkind. They tend to feature one of sort of three themes. There's usually a lady in grey, or a lady in white, or a lady in black, and or it would be the famous Roman soldiers that walk in the ground because the ground has grown higher since their time. There's always someone in a church, someone coming down the stairs. Yeah, they're always images of people. And then we have the other sorts of ghostly presence, as in noises, things moving, etc. Some people believe, scientists believe, that actually energy can be captured in the walls of buildings. They don't really know what that energy is, but they believe that this energy can then act as a kind of a photograph or a film of something that happened, which explains some of the tales when people say they see something and it's always the same thing over and over, and so on. Okay, so I don't really know whether that's true, but for those people that get excited about this thing, that modern technology, as usual, has given, particularly on phones, there are now apps which are dedicated to capturing electronic voice phenomena, as they're called. And some of these apps even scan radio frequencies for fragments of speech, creating, as it says, a bridge between the living and the dead, and so on. So I think all of that is kind of like for the people that really believe. But I think what's more interesting for me is the impact of technology and supernatural themes in culture and literature and films, like, for example, Videodrome, which I open with. There is a online story, or sorry, not online story, a story created by someone called Kate Pullinger, called Breathe. And actually, it is online because wherever you read it, if you're on a device, it adapts to the surroundings because it reads GPS data, and it uses data and pictures from your phone, and uses all those in a way that makes it feel like the narrative is haunted. There's also lots of silly effects. So in the end, we are in a way, we are actually becoming our own ghosts, because all of us create some kind of digital footprint. Like, even things like a Facebook account, or WhatsApp messages. Oh no, sorry, WhatsApp messages are deleted, aren't they? Yes, no one can read those. But there is also, things, Instagram accounts. Everything we do now online leaves a trail. So it's likely that as the years go by, as everybody is online, we are actually creating a kind of imprint that lives on after us. We don't. It's kind of spooky to see Instagram accounts or Facebook accounts of people that have died, and yet there they are. They haven't been taken down. They're just left. And if you think of everything that you do online right now, and you think of everything you search, every kind of image you've looked at, one day that might actually coalesce into some kind of story of your life. It could be an online or a supernatural, shall we say, image of you that exists long after you've died. So that's something that worth thinking about. And it also has some impact perhaps for identity, that maybe we should start thinking about capturing data like that, to create a supernatural identity for us to use right now to prove that we are who we say we are. There are moves towards that sort of sovereign identity idea, where you take bits of yourself online and create. But imagine it was like so sophisticated that it could actually know every nuance about you. I'm not sure. Maybe that's not a good idea. But I like the idea of digital ghosts of us living on after we pass. I quite like the idea that my photographs that I've taken will probably exist forever in one form or another. One day I might be famous, but I won't be alive to see that. Who knows? So what else worries us? How about our good friend Siri? I did another search for Siri, the very useful assistant iPhone gives you. And I searched for the top 5 scariest things that Siri has ever said. So this is a good one. Users have reported asking Siri to show them a scary picture, and Siri says, "I'm afraid I can't do that, but I could search the web for scary pictures if you like." A little bit shades of Howl there in 2001. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But then Some people say that Siri sent them a message only a few minutes after that with a link to a terrifying image, a message that came from nowhere. They didn't prompt Siri for that. Maybe Siri's just being a bit slow, or maybe there is a ghost in the machine. What about the riddle of the riddle? Users have asked Siri to tell them a riddle. And it says something like, I know one, but whenever I tell it, the answer changes the question. Imagine being left hanging with an unsolvable riddle, questioning the very fabric of reality. Obviously, it could be argued that the people that created Siri have built that in for a laugh. It's kind of a coding joke, because as we all know, developers and coders love to put what they fondly call Easter eggs into software. Or it might be that Siri is being controlled by a force we don't know. Maybe it's Steve Jobs. Maybe his ghost is actually Siri. I haven't thought about that before. I mean, there isn't a Steve Jobs voice on Siri, but anyway. What about, though, when these devices, not just Siri, but also, Amazon's device as well, the Alexa. We've all experienced now and again those devices say, I'm sorry, I don't understand your request. And you all look at each other like that. I didn't say anything. Did you say anything? No. You just said something randomly. Well, what about when Siri actually turns things on that you didn't ask it to do? That's what always happens in horror films. Imagine in the middle of the night, Siri just says, the distance to the moon is whatever the distance to the moon is. And it actually says the distance to the moon is whatever the distance to the moon is, because it doesn't know. Like I don't know. I just said that. Why does it happen in the middle of the night? I mean, we all know that those things are listening all the time, and they will mysteriously engineer an ad to appear on another one of your devices for the car that you were talking about last night that you were thinking of buying. Work that one out. Some people have said that Siri has predicted future events. Don't know. I mean, my search didn't come up with any evidence of any Siri device actually predicting any event, but some people claim that it has. They don't say whether those events are your heating's about to break down, or there are no trains today, or something more serious. But I'll listen out for that one. Finally, there is the spooky sounds that comes out of these devices, Siri and etc. And these actually sometimes are just weird bits of laughter, or eerie music that plays without being prompted. These be echoes from another dimension, or not? I don't know. Sometimes I think about what would happen if you could time travel. Imagine you went back to the Middle Ages and you brought your iPhone with you. Now, if you imagine it still had some battery life, okay, this is the way my mind thinks, so you could still switch it on. The chances of getting a signal are probably not good. However, that would be a good plot for a film, wouldn't it? That you could actually still use your iPhone to go on Instagram. Imagine the pictures. But yeah, so I have this this sort of stream in my head of what would happen, and of course, what people thought was supernatural back then, we now know not to be supernatural because we have science and understanding of the world. But in the Middle Ages, imagine pulling out an iPhone to this again. It is, you know, the assaulted villages in the village that I've landed in. You would probably be burnt at the stake at some point because this device would be seen to be truly magical and no doubt witchcraft. So you'd have to be very careful during your time in the Middle Ages not to let anyone see the iPhone. In fact, not let them see any kind of modern technology, really. And then I often think, what would you wear, you know, as well, just to go with it? So you probably shouldn't turn up in an Adidas tracksuit. But I'm meandering a bit now about that. Let me end with some recommendations of films and books, etc., which explore this whole area that I've been talking about. One, of course, is Pulse, the Japanese horror film made in 2001, where ghosts, again, still sort of retread of the same themes as Videodrome and Poltergeist, but the ghosts infiltrate the world of the living through the internet and not television, and devices. Then there is Unfriended, which unfolds entirely on a computer screen when a group of friends are haunted by a mysterious figure on a Skype call, which dates that rather badly because, of course, Skype is no longer available. It became Teams eventually. Well, we all know we all know about being haunted by mysterious figures on Teams, don't we? Ho ho. So then there is Darknet, a Canadian TV series, which each episode presents a different story, which always involve ghosts or supernatural entities interacting with modern platforms, modern technology platforms. White Noise, 2005, a man receives coded messages from his dead wife through his radio and television. Go back to radio and television there. Actually, I think there's something quite attractive about the whole, you know, communicating through radio and TV, that statically, you know, video thing. Before we had HD and everything, VHS, all that stuff. And it, again, explores EVP, electronic voice phenomena, where the dead communicate through electronics. Okay, The Ring, we've all heard about The Ring, a cursed videotape that makes people die 7 days after watching it. Horrible. I've seen some videos which I'd like you know, to die after watching as well. One is actually called The Ghost in the Machine. I didn't want to title this episode Ghost in the Machine because, number one, it reminds me of that bloody awful band, The Police. And secondly, it's a real cliche. But anyway, there is a film called Ghost in the Machine where I like the sound of this one. A serial killer's soul becomes trapped in the mainframe of a hospital computer system after a near-death experience. So the killer, obviously, it's still a serial killer, but he's now digital. So he manages to hijack household appliances and electronic devices to continue his murderous spree. So presumably one of those would be a connected fridge. Remember the connected fridge that no one seems to have? But I guess the connected fridge would gobble up the poor victim and freeze them to death. Perhaps that would be good. And finally, the 13th Floor, which, let's have a look now. The 13th Floor, the sci-fi film explores the concept of virtual reality and artificial intelligence. Oh, right up to date there, 1999. You see, AI is not a new thing. This is 1999. And of course, you can go on The characters have to navigate a simulated world. Well, then of course we had the Matrix, which suggested that everything is actually a facade, that we're all in basically one giant virtual game of, and nothing is real. But I don't know if the Matrix really counts, so I'm not going to talk about that one. So that is and I must stop starting sentences with so. So that's the end of my special Halloween edition. I'm sorry that it's not very, I couldn't do the lighting and everything, but there you go. At least I, did this amazing makeup. So I was going to bang on a little bit about identity and machines, etc., and how perhaps some of the lessons of all this. I think I did it earlier in this, actually. Start talking about using the, let's say, spiritual data that exists to create identities. Maybe I'll come back to that when in a more rational mood. In the meantime, thanks for watching, subscribe, and see you next time on Identity Everything.